basically, I woke up this morning and Kostya was there on the side of my bed. And he said, Cry, get up. You need to do the game review, buddy. You've been slacking on the game review. And I said, Kostya, buddy, I got a tournament this weekend. I need to get him my Chessable Quest. And he said, listen, buddy. All right, you can do your Chessable Quest, but then you got to get on with the game review. So here I am, doing the game review for you, Coast to Coast. I've been a real slacker with this, real slacker. It's been a while, and I haven't been doing it. There's so many things I've been slacking off on. Oh, man, so many things. The videos, Mitch is so upset at the endgame videos that I haven't made yet. I'm telling you guys, it is rough. In any case, here we go. Here we go, everyone. This is Kirk. Kirk has 2 games. Basically, at our Patreon, you can submit a game to review, and you can usually ask who you want to review it. Actually, there's no usually about it. You can just do it. And we've kind of been overwhelmed recently. The way I do it, Kosi does it a little differently. I like to highlight the notes of the person who did the game. I really do believe that the ultimate value, or the biggest part of the value of annotating the game, is you yourself articulating in words, variations, symbols, what you thought was going on in the game. So here we are with Kirk. We're going to do 2 games of Kirk. I'm going to go for like however long I last, and then I'm going to go eat lunch, and then I'll come back. So here we go. Kirk is white. And I covered this variation this morning, actually, from the black side, so this is kind of fun. And let me say, Kirk, this is a very ambitious move, F3, that has to do with space. And it's difficult, right? Because you are losing development in the pursuit of space. And it can become very hectic, especially if black kicks, as he should. He should kick. All right, so C5, and you note here that this is hilarious. Are we sure about this? No. You know what I've done here? Kirk, you know what I've done, buddy? This is not, this is in fact what happened? I don't understand. This can't be correct. This is my variation, Kirk. This is hilarious. I have the wrong game up. Excuse me. Well, excuse me. I can get it, though. I can get it. How did that happen? Let's do it again. Kirk, apologies. However, good thing I caught it. How embarrassing would that be? All right. Let's get the correct BGN in here. Boom. And I'm still getting the wrong one. The computer's really been attacking me today, my friends. So I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to make sure we get it. This is so weird that this is going on. Pop. One thing I'm doing a little differently today is previous times I really spent much more time looking over the game. And this time I'm going to try to do just a standard let's go for it kind of approach. Here we go. Lichess 4545. And there he has the link to the previous review that I did. Right, I remember this. So here we go. Boom, boom, boom. And one thing I will say, this is of course a classical move, nothing wrong with it. The dojo players and some of my students have really gone deep on the move E5. And I almost feel like one of the things we can do at the dojo is really go deep with openings. And what do I mean by that? So, for example, Chessable has this whole thing. We can learn the openings that way, create files and stuff. Great. More important, I think, is even to have a group of people you spar with and then kind of trade ideas with. And that's what some of my students have been doing with E5 beautiful. Really learning, not just like the variations and stuff, but the ideas. Okay, so here we go. I think in that game, we also had, right, as Kirk notes, we have this, and the beauty of this ancient variation is that black will go loco with, wait for it, h5. Okay, so like I said in that video, this kind of blew me away the first time I saw it. These guys, though, are very familiar with this setup. And so, like I was talking about the other opening with the dojo, with the e5 variation, these guys are kind of going deep in their own analysis of this position. Okay, so castles, h4, and here's an interesting move that I think I even talked about last time. Bishop f4. So let's look at this thing that because I think I mentioned this in the last one. Amazing. He is voluntarily doing this to himself. Let's look at his variation. Bishop d6, check to the miserable king. Rook fe1, bishop e6. Check, very nice, I think, if it works. Cannot play king takes e6. Dang, that is amazing. So I think that's a great example of deep opening prep, okay? With bishop f4. Now, let's just talk about it. That whole tactical sequence is to justify the positional idea, the correct positional idea of trading off black's good piece, the bishop on d6. And maybe also trying to make the knight on e2 work. The knight on e2 is a little bit funky. Yeah, okay. So very high level, honestly, and I have a feeling that Kirk looked at that variation in advance. Genius. Okay. That's good chess. That's good chess, Kirk. Now, you write, I think, that knight a6 is his best move. It's a little bit anti-intuitive for him to play. He would have to understand that he doesn't have to be afraid of bishop a6 and the weakness of the pawns. Yeah. All right, so let's look. h3, it looks very intuitive to me for him to play h3. Very intuitive, kind of in keeping with the whole setup. The comforting thing for white now is now he doesn't have to worry about rook takes e2, at least not as much as previously. What was funny about that line too is that black found himself under attack in a position where the prejudice would be, hey, I've got these extra pawns on the king side. I shouldn't have a problem on my king side. Okay, now this move is definitely a mistake with queen c7, a minor mistake, simply because now you are losing a tempo. And that's why a move like knight a6 is what we would want to do as black. Let's say something obvious. Black has one significant problem here. It's not the double pawns, it is this knight. How does this knight get into the game? Okay, so now we're going to say both sides are just playing chess now, i.e. they might have some familiarity with this position, but they don't, I don't think, have any special like computer knowledge. Now, let's just say queen c7, if Johan's watching this, I think what you're guilty of, okay, is that you're thinking it's better to give a tempo than to give him the double pawns, right? And let's just say the other thought, of course, would have been bishop f4, knight f4, knight d7, but there the issue is you got to have something against knight h3, which maybe you do, but that's will be complicated. Whereas knight a6 is a beautiful move because you're saying it's better for me to save a tempo than it is for me to get my pawns ruined. And one bummer about white taking, of course, is the knight on a6 still owes white moves to come back into the game with knight c7, knight d5, knight e6, something like that. Okay, so here we go. Queen c7. Maybe I need to do a video called Tempe Our People. Tempe Our People. Okay, now white has a big choice here. And I do think these positions are hard because obviously you don't want to get mated and you want to do something constructive on the queen side. What is that constructive something on the queen side, though? Now, I am not clear, Kirk, just looking at this, why rook ae1 is better than rook fe1. And I'm going to go ahead and say, by all means, rook fe1 looks more natural to me. That way, well, I just don't know what the rook on f1 is doing, A, and then I might want to play bishop f1 at some point. In fact, I kind of assume I do want my bishop later to go to f1. Also, I might want to put the rook onto d1. All right, so let's see how this goes down. And now he gives a check. And black gets to fix his business here. Now let me just say I have some questions. So in this position, if I was black, that would be a question for me. What happens here? It's not immediately obvious to me. Not at all. Definitely at least worthy of a question here. Because he's got questions about the file. I'm not even sure knight d7 was correct. And this would be the way to punish him for losing his important tempo. And this, of course, we could do with either rook fe1 or rook ae1. And arguably, if knight f4 is a crusher, then knight a6 would be better. So that knight anywhere, then I play bishop d7, and I say I'm fundamentally okay. Right? What is he going to do? The obvious question would be, if you trade, obviously I get the e file, and if you do something like that, well, at the very least, we got to wonder, does that looks painful to me. If g5, at least have to wonder about knight h5. So, I don't know. A lot of questions there. Maybe I'm missing something obvious. This is kind of interesting for me to do this game review this way because, back in the day, I've been doing this a lot. I would kind of look at it forever and kind of, check and then maybe think about it, have my subconscious thinking about it. But here you're just seeing my immediate reaction. I'm like, well, dude, we got to at least talk about knight f4. We got to at least talk about it. Because what's happening now is we're losing our development advantage when we play it this way. And maybe your thinking here was right, that you're snipping a pawn, I guess. And now g6. Okay, and fair enough. Maybe we're just saying very simply, hey, I'm snipping a pawn. I'm doing great. Okay. So bishop f5. Yeah, this knight d7 move was a disaster no matter what. He had to play knight a6 no matter what here. And it's funny is that knight d7 has two problems. There's the knight f4 move and what Kirk played. Whereas knight a6 is all about the prejudice of the double pawns, not realizing that knight d7 is going to take more moves to connect the rooks, which is the ultimate big one. All right. Now, big questions here for white about this rook e8 stuff. I'm getting attacked by a student in Skype. So, bishop h3 is a natural move. Could we have done rook e8? I mean, the assumption is yes, right? It's a little more complicated. And let's just say black is in trouble, obviously. Losing the pawn is not a great look, as they say. Let's trust Kirk. Simple, we're up a pawn. But we do have a bad knight. g5. I don't know about g5, my friend. Knight e6 is a more convenient way to keep the knight at bay. And what's mildly hilarious about g5 is that it is making the rook on f1 look like it has a purpose in life, right? Like maybe we can play for f4. And certainly now, f4 would be my first question. Why can't we just play f4? Now, if there's a problem with Kirk's next two moves, queen f5, rook e4, it's that it doesn't feel like there's an urgency to fix the bad knight, right? So f4 immediately addresses the bad knight and asks black a question, right? Okay, but let's give Kirk's move a try. Queen f5. Now maybe again knight g6. King g7. Again, I want f4. And he gives rook e3. That's kind of clever too, so that if you take, you get the f file open. Beautiful move. And what's happening? Well, your knight was a jerk, and now it's paying the price for being a jerk. It's paying the price for being a jerk. Okay. Yeah, now the game, we're going to restart the game because black has the file and the better knight, even though his own knight owes us some time too. And here we have a basic question. Should white go all the way back to b1? Obviously, he's going back to save his pawn, but maybe it's better not to. Okay, we're about to find out. This is obviously a cold shower for white because he was doing so fine before. Queen b1. Now, let's just say that my sense is that you deserve death. You deserve death after this move. Maybe it won't come, but you deserve it. Maybe it's fine, okay? Okay, I don't know. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. And the obvious thing we should say is black should consider rook e2 now. Because when he does this move, and you get to play f3, your knight is actually helping, and g4 doesn't do anything because you just play knight g1, and your knight is actually doing stuff. Now, the question is, maybe queen b1 is bold, man. Maybe it works, because maybe here, But then we got checked to the miserable king. No. I mean, you'd have to be a madman if you'd played it this way, right? So, because knight f3, g4, right? So rook e2 looks like a hassle in the castle. No, this is definitely not Tata Steel. We're doing Dojo game review. And why am I not covering Tata Steel? Well, like I said, Kostya got me up at 6 o'clock this morning and said, Cry, you need to do the game review, buddy. And I pled my case and I said, look, I gotta do some chessable quests first, Kostya, give me a break. And he said, okay, you can do some chessable quests, but then Cry. Then it's game review for you. So this is where I am, okay? All right. Here we go. Rook e2 look good. Queen d5 seems like you're helping white. Knight g6, I don't know what the knight's doing there. Fine. And this is a funky move because I don't see how black intensifies the threat on f3. And that's bold. Just b3, man. Just like, I don't care. I don't care if black's not doing anything. And maybe he's not. Maybe he's not. You're doing great in this position, though. You're doing great. You have to be a little careful, true, but you're doing great. And he's just doing a cheap trick with knight h4. Notice that he did not fix his knight the entire time. So you had a problem with your knight, and he kind of fixed it for you. And then with your knight, his knight here, he didn't fix his knight. Thank you very much. Now, are you winning? Probably. Probably, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice, simple play. Thank you. Thank you. Now, could you have also played king g2? Maybe. Wait, in fact, should we say a note there? King g2 looks stronger, right? Because I'm sure you were afraid of some kind of queen c1 stuff, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. So here, king g2, right? And then you're just eating him. Whereas here, the guy's got a little bit of play because you got to worry about the queen invading. That's right, Mitch. Kostya was up early, harassing me. I need to talk to the labor board. Queen e1. Now, these endgames are hard, man. They're hard because black will always have chances of perpetual check. And he doesn't have to be a genius, right? He just goes in here. Good. 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 I don't understand that move, but it's hard for him at this point. And maybe he shouldn't take, because there's a simple rule about these queen endgames that more than any other endgame, the passed pawns matter the most, and you want the centralization of the queen. So the intuitive move here for black would be queen c3, d5, queen d4. Just centralize, baby, centralize. And then when the white queen goes up to support the pawn, then black will have chances of checking the king to death. Very difficult to win. That doesn't make sense. Good. I'm not sure that makes sense. And then, right, looks like you're winning, boss. Oh my gosh, it got complicated. Good. Queen behind the pawn. Good. Good. Now you're crushing him. And he resigns. You can always tell it was done in Lee chess because for whatever reason at the end it always says normal. No one knows why it says normal. Kostya doesn't actually sleep, you know. He just comes around in my dreams and tells me to do things. admonishes me for the work that I haven't done. And you too, Mitch. You were up very early this morning talking to me about how I haven't done those endgame videos. And from the bottom of my heart, Mitch, I apologize. I apologize for not doing it. Okay, we're actually going to do Kirk times 2 here. Kirk has 2 games, and this next one he's playing Konstantin. This is also, I don't know if this is a dojo game, but I don't recognize the name Konstantin. All right, let's see. Last time I was terrible at getting the correct game in here. Let's see if I can do better this time. Uh-oh. Nope, again I got it wrong. I know what I'm doing wrong. I have, my skills aren't great, but I know how to do it now. Okay, my friends. This is going to be Kirk's second game that we're going to do here. So we're going to load this bad boy up. Pap, pap, boom. Oh my God, this is another Caro Kann. He's a genius against the Caro Kann. If this is the same game, it'll be truly depressing. Bishop F4. Okay. This actually happens. This actually happens. So what you guys are getting here is Kirk's refutation against the H5 Caro. Maybe we should clip this for our YouTube. It'll be a compendium here, because this is truly genius. I want to stress that just from my intuition, I didn't think this was possible. I didn't believe like this was going to get crushed. And just to review, we have like this madness here. Boom, 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 boom. And it's suddenly very unpleasant for a peasant. There's no knight F6 because the stupid pawn was there. So he gives, and then what do we got now? I think we're going to call this a winning position, right? Either winning. No, I gotta say this is over, Grover. Gotta call this over. Now, definitely chances, practical chances for black. But especially if we can open the D file for our other rook, which I think is our main goal now. I don't see any hope. Good. Okay. Bishop E6. Good move. Okay. So definitely the moment where white needs to consider what plan to do here, and it's not super simple. Just my instant intuition is that you should play c4 followed by rook a d1, right? Because the pawn push d5 is not always like, let's say you weren't up the exchange, not necessarily clear that that's the thing to do. But the reason to now think that that's the thing to do is because you've got the exchange and you want to bust the game open. So that, yeah, I think c4, as long as you're not like losing something immediately, which is hard for me to imagine, then that's what you should be doing. Anytime you can open up the files, definitely you want to trade the rook, right? Because your rooks are duplicating their functions and his is not. So you want to trade rooks in this position, right? And again, one of the great things about these, the main point, I started this game review show ages ago on chess.com. The main thing I was trying to get people to understand is that you doing the notes yourself, which you can see down below my ugly mug here, is that will be where you will improve the most, just thinking about it for yourself. And right, so I thought c4 instead of b3. g6. Am I sold on g6? I think rook d8 trying to make c4 difficult would be a thought. Not sure I understand. G6, how bad can it be? I don't know. Queen e2. I don't think bishop f5 is a threat. Let's play rook a d1. Let's play c4. Okay, good move. Good. And now bishop c4. Now, was it bad? I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably, let's give it a chance. Let's give it a chance. Queen a5. Oh, okay, Kirk. We got a very important thing I want you to see here. So what you're saying is, I can't take the bishop because it will undouble his pawns. No, Kirk. No, you can totally take. And if I'm black in this position, I'm definitely taking back with a knight. I'm definitely taking back with a knight. If I take back with the pawn, my knight is dead. So this is a perfect example of pawns aren't people. You're thinking that, oh, I'm going to fix his pawns. His pawns are beautiful. They're protecting his king. His pawns, double pawns, aren't the problem. His problem is down the exchange. That's his problem. So, right, if after this is a key thing, is that you, of course, should take that thing. And I think you should take back with a knight, and then knight takes queen e3. Or queen d2, excuse me, a little bit better, not to drop the pawn. But pawn takes disaster, because we're going to play c4, and we're just waiting for ld5 to happen. Mr. d5 is going to come. And his king's nasty now. His knight is nasty. His knight's horrendous. Horrendous. Yeah, this is a disaster. So that's an important mistake here. So your bishop c4 was not a mistake. You want to trade some stuff. You want to open the lines, right? Very simple idea when you have the rooks. You want to open the lines, even if you have to sacrifice a pawn, as long as you can open the position. And fe is such a nasty move because it opens up his own king that we should definitely want it. And like I said, I think for sure he would. I think he should take back with a knight. We saw in the last game, too, your opponent didn't fix the knight there either. So maybe he would have taken with the pawn. All right, queen b2, a little weird. Okay, I like that from black, sure. Okay. We can still take on e6. What rating are these players? Good question. I'm not 100% sure. Usually in the YouTube description, we'll put a note. I think Kirk's around 1,700, 1,800, something like that. Now, again, what's hilarious about this? It shows that black's intention was, as Kirk suspected, to take back with the pawn. Horrendous. Horrendo. Now, this position is still lost for the guy, but at least, and when I say lost with bishop takes, f takes, because at least then he has the idea of playing knight g5. And what is the beauty there is like, oh, at least his knight looks imposing once it gets to knight g5, right? So, queen d3, okay. And are you right in saying that's a mistake? Yes, you are. No, he should not exchange the queens. But it's already a hard life. It's already a hard life. We should say, though, that certainly, well, there's question marks here. There's real question marks. How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about that? And then that looks lost. Looks toast. Absolutely toast. So I have sympathy here. Queen d3 was a good move. Okay. Now, again, what should be your focus? Opening up the rooks. And now you still don't like bishop c4. I like it a lot. And knight g5 is a funky move. Like, A, you can push it back. B, it's not clear it's so special. Yeah. And then here, f4, you're missing knight e4. And curiously, again, you're thinking that the guy's going to take back with a pawn, I assume. Here, though, I think he's just going to, it's bad news. Like, his knight's dead. Dead. Crispy critters. And you don't even need to play f3 because the knight e4 is not really a threat. I.e., you can start with this move if you want. Totally toast. So this is a nasty, and now we've got to say it's now not maybe so easy. The knight on e4 has achieved a brilliant outpost, and with that, his game is now not so bad. Now we need to do something special. Now I still think maybe we could do, we still obviously have some chances, but this is the kind of position where he's close to compensation. Close to compensation with the brilliant knight. For example, if you play bishop takes now, pawn takes, it's much more difficult for your rooks to pop the position open. I'm not sure about that. I was thinking you should play bishop e2, bishop f3, and then ask him a question. Ask him the question, because bishop d5, you've got c4. And I don't think he ever wants to play c5. That'll just help you open the rooks. So that doesn't seem right. And it's definitely weird, but b5 would... that knight looks so good after the trade. So good. Now, you do have ideas of opening up the position with c4, d5 there. But, boom. And unless he has something amazing after this, then you've definitely done yourself a great service. And he misses the key idea of your whole point here, which is pop, pop, and now... It's a huge, remember what I said, it's a huge bonus for you if you can trade off rooks, which he does for you. I would say, in fact, maybe you could even formulate a rule that when you're up the exchange, getting the opponent's rook off is almost like worth a pawn, because once his rook goes off, the whole beauty is the rook is working well with the other pieces because they're doing different jobs, whereas your rooks are doing the same job. The second your rook goes off the board, then look, your rook is just owning. It's owning those poor sops over there. The poor bishop on c8. Now it's very easy. So here, he's already in trouble. d5 was a great move. And allowing d5. No puedo. No lo puedo over here. So bishop c8 was really the disaster. I feel like, for example, maybe you should try to play c5, but we are definitely going to play d6 then. And we're not going to be worried about losing the pawn, because the only way, first of all, it's not easy for him to win the pawn. But second of all, even if he did, he would open up, he would let us trade one of the rooks. Okay, pop. Beautiful. I'm going to say it's over. Rook e1, I'm sure, was also possible. Easy peasy. Mr. Sneezy. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay, good. Why did it suddenly became more complicated? It became more complicated. Oh no, don't tell me b4 happened, boss. Really? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. My friends, someone missed it. Oof. Oof. It's funny, we're talking, one of the funny things, It was funny, but it's also instructive. We were talking about some position, and Mitch was in the chat, and we were talking about a Carlsen game, and we were talking about, he said this thing, which I've heard many times before, that something along the lines of, when it's an endgame when you're no longer playing for mate. And I think I was really confused by that kind of sentiment as a kid. And one of the reasons I played endgames terribly as a kid, because mate is always there, my friend. Mate is always there. And that's a hell of a thing right there, man. Time out, Kirk. We got to go back a second and think about how this all went wrong, because you were winning so clearly. So let's go here. Okay, so this position, completely toast, and you kind of went, I'm gonna accuse you of passivity, I think. So the first thing is, rook e1's gotta be the move. I mean, just gotta be the move, right? Passive. Not clear it helps. And bishop e2, okay, bishop e2 and rook d8, exactly. Hard to argue against this. And now, right, he's tricking you. He is tricking you a little bit here, my friend. And this might be the moment to become clever and maybe even rook e2 here. Right, rook e2, because if knight d3, rook e8, and if knight c6, you can totally tie him down as well as invade with rook e8. Yeah. So this is like the beginning of the slide where you're doing passive things. Are you still winning? Yes. But it's starting to get a little creaky here. Now, like for example, now you're going to have to organize a rook invasion. But it's not simple, and he has really achieved a lot in the last several moves. Are you still winning? I'd like to believe so, but it's no longer easy. Good move. Good move. Very nice. Very nice. And now, I guess, it's just no longer a simple deal. And I think, Kirk, one of the things I've noticed in my own games is that when I really start to blow it is when this situation where I'm like, oh, I feel like I deserve to be winning, like you deserve to be winning earlier. And then in justifying me believing that I have a win, I'll make some disastrous move like b4. You saw it actually with Nepo as well. When Nepo plays c5, it was like he's believing that that's the only move where he could possibly be better. But he was no longer better at that point. And that's when it all went downhill. Now, the interesting thing is, well, I don't know how interesting it is. He's close to a fortress now, because you got to play like king b4 is no good. Now, Stockfish says it's a blunder with king b4. But you also don't really write, oh, bishop d5 is what the Stockfish wants. Again, I enjoy it more when you don't write in what the Stockfish says, just for your own analysis, not just for my own enjoyment. Okay, so terrible move. For example, obviously Stockfish would have shown you that knight b3 is winning, but it would also be interesting, did you see it in your own analysis, hopefully over the board. Knight c4. Now maybe you're definitely the one pressing. Should he be playing f6, or should he be sitting? Might be hard for him to sit too. He's helping you, my friend. Oh, disaster. Okay, the game is lost. Fish doesn't even remember the story. Okay, good. 2 games from Kirk, dealing with the Carl Khan. We'll put those hopefully as a duo in a vid that hopefully our good friend DM Hokie can edit down a little bit to be more cohesive. All right, let's do one more, and then I'm going to go eat lunch. All right, one more game. This is not going to be from Kirk. This is going to be from Kaspar against Shakmasteo. And this is Kaspar's annotations. And we're going to get this going here. Just have to make sure. There it is, Kaspar and Shakmasteo. Hello, Jesse. I'm back from my hiatus. I finally got relief from my eye condition and keep my eyes open without pain. Below is another Nimzo failure against another higher rated player in the Dojo Verified Classical. Verified just being, we verified your identity. I think that's what it means. And we've got these great classical tournaments going, and I want to just stress that especially if you can't make it for an over-the-board event in these times of COVID, this is a great opportunity, especially if you are trying to get better and then use the game as Kaspar is doing here to improve. Sometimes I worry if this self-analysis is reinventing the wheel, that I should find a book to teach me the pawn structure in question and so on. On the other hand, I'm asking the kinds of questions that the strong-titled authors consider too obvious to answer. Okay, so he did use Stockfish. Okay, again, when you submit these games, and by the way, we're kind of in a little bit of a revolution about how much we're doing, because me and Kosa were just overwhelmed. We had too many. That's why he was in my bedroom at 6 o'clock this morning telling me to get up. We have too many games, so we're kind of changing the way we're doing the game analysis. But even if you're just doing it for yourself, I really recommend doing it without the Stockfish at least first. Definitely can look at it later, but especially if you're going to show it to a coach or a friend, show it to that person without the computer first, right? Because let them see it through their own eyes as well. Okay. All right, like our last variation with F3, this one is kind of a highfalutin thing where we are playing for, instead of space, which F3 plays for, here we're going to play for the abstract 2-bishop advantage. C6. I don't understand that move. I guess I do now. He wants to put his bishop back here. Okay. Actually, not the dumbest thing I've seen. The real question mark to this move would be, what about e4, d5, e5? And it looks, at least without going too deep into it, like a bad French, right? So let's consider e4 for a second. And Stockfish is talking about knight e4, knight takes e4. Now, if I was white, knight e4 I would be concerned with, because this is again this is a great example of using the computer. Because if, like, let's say you're playing the game, I want to know how you thought about it. Was this the variation that turned you off of it? And if I was white, I would be worried about this because my king, it's not so much my development is bad, because black's is also bad, but my king isn't too safe. And on a move like knight c3, c5, by the way, not a human move. So c5, you're already in some weird computer land. But moves like f5 and knight d7, f6, all these things are really on the agenda for black. And so if you played e4, this is the position I think you would be worried about. Great example of not using the computer first, because no, that's not what you're going to be looking. No, that's not the thing, man. Is that a genius move? It probably is. It probably is, right? But it's a little too much. All right, let's go back to the game. So knight g3, and this definitely justifies Black's weird c6, bishop c7 thing. d5, bishop d3. Okay. Now, Black's turn. What does he do? Knight d7. Fine. The other move that I feel is kind of obvious as a question is, could Black just play e5? Kaspar, buddy, you can't be using the computer so soon, man. Like, for example, you're talking to me about e4, e5. I need to know what you're thinking about in your own mind during the game, and you do too. Once you see the computer, you're going to be, losing your mind over whatever the computer thinks. Okay, I think Black should consider e5, after which I don't see any real problems for him. Okay, now, the advantage of having played e5 before dc is precisely this thing where the bishop on c4 is now a good piece, and this knight on g3 has opportunities on the light squares, right? So big question for White. White plays rook e1. My first instinct for White is that he should play bishop b3 just to get out of the way of things. Yeah, but okay, let's give rook e1. Let's give it a chance. It's a little bit of a weird move. Definitely a weird move. Again, in these positions, if you just get the bishop out of the way, it's going to get knocked someday. So just play bishop b3. And then you can think about queen c2. You can see, is he going to take on d4? Black will have to reveal some ideas. Okay. All right. So, probably okay. Should be fine. Maybe worthy of note is bishop e6, with the claim that if you take, yeah. Now, I think maybe rook e8 was played with the intention of bishop e6, and then taking back with the rook, but that will leave this knight at least touching this square. Whereas bishop e6, I think, stops him cold, white cold, because this is his hot love. His hot love cry, is that where you're going today with this? This is this great piece, his hot love. What are you talking about, buddy? You're going to get Kostya coming into my bedroom even earlier than 6 o'clock in the morning. Give me a break. So that's his good piece. We want to get rid of it. Okay. So, rook a2, fancy. And now you say e4 exclam. I'm not sold on e4. Let's read what you wrote here, Kaspar. Before I took my chess improvement seriously, I used to play a nasty opening called the French, and this move brought back some unpleasant memories. e4 came as a shock because I'd thought it would overextend. And then he's worried about knight bd5 locking his bishop. Now, was rook a2 a little funky? Yeah. And rook e1 was also funky. And I want you to see that e4, I don't think should inspire fear in your heart. There are some tactical problems here. But one thing I want you to see, if the rook were on f1, then we would be more able to play the move f3. Here you lose your mind with d5. Now, I'm going to guess that the problem that Kaspar saw was queen c2, knight bd5, and then well, let's look. This would be the issue, I think. Pop, pop. Do I understand this? I'm not sure I do. So hold on. Queen c2. Queen e7, I guess. And now f3 is not so special because we'll just take it. So what about f3 here? I want to stress it's just to my human eyes. Maybe you've already checked this with Stockfish, but to my human eyes, this does not seem so terrible for white. Now you're talking about structures. This is definitely a French structure. And one in which your bishop on b3 is very proud. And one of the problems here for black here, with reverse colors, he would be white, I guess, you know, against the French, is it's hard for him to control the e4 square. And his best move might be to hack your knight on g3 and then try to hold the e4 square. But unless he's got something special, which I don't see, he is not, you know, like clearly better. Now the problem that maybe you felt, and maybe he should do this, is on this move, he can threaten knight c3 stuff. It's not clear to me though. Like knight takes, and if pawn takes, this rook will come here someday, and we can do a lot of things here. Simplest which is just change the structure with f4 if we're really frightened. We're not dying. We're not dying here. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Now maybe e4, like this is where it's confusing to me with the evaluations too. Like if you turn on Stockfish and it says clearly better, then I guess I can't argue. But if that's would be more interesting, right? To be like, okay, this is how I felt during the game, because we've all experienced the moment where someone plays a move like e4 and then we feel dread in our soul, right? Maybe you felt dread in your soul, I would understand. And then, you know, maybe Stockfish is like, oh yeah, you're in big trouble, you know? Or excuse me, but without the computer, and you feel that dread, and then maybe you're wrong about it. Maybe you're just like overreacting. That's happened to all of us. And so in the annotations, we want to be clear about what our feeling was and what the computer, you know, we want to leave the computer out for a moment. Okay, e4, d5. Now, intuitively, why doesn't this feel right to me? Well, one, it looks like we're losing. It looks like we're going for broke when we don't need to. So snippos, popos, and then there's this issue where I guess we are lost. Okay. Right, why do I say this is lost? Mostly because of the king and because the knight on b6 has beautiful jumping opportunities. Now again, maybe that's the computer saying clearly better, but I don't know, I'm just telling you my sense. In all these game review things, I'm just trying to give you my sense of the position. Yeah, it looks lost. Now, with g3, you're being clever. You are also creating, though, a long-term problem by moving the pawn. Now, maybe you got to. Maybe you got no choice. It's true. Maybe you just simply got no choice anymore. And the bummer is, too, with bishop b2, even if rook h6 doesn't work, you got to deal with knight c4. It's got to be toast. Okay. Was that necessary? The other move that he can play here, of course, is just h5, right? And now he starts h5. Yeah, and you write that. Definitely h5. That's the problem with g3. Now, g3 might have been your best move, but still, it allows h5, and I just don't see any counterplay. Uh-oh. 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 Black has no threats. That's right. This is a standard thing. A lot of times you have a bishop on g2 as well. Nothing doing. Finally, we get to do that. But I guess we don't because of knight c4. So almost anything besides bishop b2. Rook d8 you wrote about? Fine. Yeah, I think there's multiple moves. Rook d4 has to be fine as well. Uh-oh. Now we got to worry about some weirdness. Yeah. Oh. Bummer, Kaspar.